All right, here we go. The first thing it asks you to find is company profile. In order to find the answers to questions 1 through 3, you have to use Yahoo Finance, and you're going to find all of that underneath of the profile tab here at the top of the page. You will have to scroll down to find some of this, but the industry is listed right here. Name, location, and if you read through the description, you'll find answers to questions 2 and 3 within the reading. So you just have to do some light reading there. And then when you come back here, you can fill in the rest of that information, what their products are, because most of your companies may, sell a number of items. You might be general and say something like diversified technology, like 3M. They sell them worldwide. I found that in the description. I read through it. Their industry, I showed you, it's diversified machinery. And then number 4, the market structure that they exist in should be from your own knowledge. So you can put in that right there. Remember, there are 4 different types. There's monopolies, oligopolies, monopolistic competition, and perfect competition. And once you fill in all this information here in the middle, you can go off to the right and it says, how is this information that you just found going to affect your choice? So this could be a number of answers. I just said that because 3M is a large, diversified, and stable company, I'm likely not going to invest in it because this is a short-term investment and not a long-term investment. I might invest in 3M if I was looking to invest long-term, but that's not the case. Don't forget to put the name of your stock up here when you do it. Don't forget to put the stock symbol. It'll be easier to get to on Yahoo Finance if you know the stock symbol. Once you've got this first row done, you can go down to the second row. Here they're just asking for different stock indicators, and this all comes from the summary page. So starting with PE ratio, yield, 52-week range, that can all be found on this summary page. The summary tab is up here at the top. It's listed in blue. There's a hyperlink to it, and you're going to find all that information in here. PE ratio is right here. 22.34 is what it's listed at currently, and that's what I put in here. You might access this in a couple of days and that number might be different, and that's fine. They're not always going to be same. These numbers are always changing. They're all relative to what has happened in the market. It's all based on past performance of the stock. The yield is 2.54%, and I was able to find that by going to right here where it says dividend and yield. It looks like 3M pays out a quarterly dividend of about $4.44 every 3 months. That is about 2.54% of their overall profit, and therefore you'd go back and put that information right there. The 52-week range, their lows and highs, that's also listed on the summary page. You're going to find it right here. Make sure you don't use the days range. The days range is going to be considerably different than the 52-week range, so make sure you're getting the correct numbers there. You can copy and paste those numbers into your chart at this point. The 1-year target estimate can also be found in the same location. It's right down here. Estimates project that in a year, this will be selling at $182.57. Currently, it's at $176.89. Again, this is not a stock you'd invest in. It's way too big of a stock to be investing in. Stock price is way too high. Okay. What in the world? Then the earnings per share is $2.05. This, unfortunately, is no longer on the summary page. But if you pay attention, you go to the analyst page, you're going to find it in here. It's under the current quarter for the EPS, 2.05. It's listed right here. Again, you'll have to just go to the analyst page in order to find that one. The next thing we need is the market that it's traded on. I know that it's traded on the New York Stock Exchange because it says directly under the name of my company right up here in the upper left-hand corner, NYSE, which tells me that it's traded there in Wall Street. And then the beta is 1.00, and that also can be found on the summary page, and that is found right here, beta 1.00. Now that you have all that information based on that, how will that possibly affect your choice? Well, I said that this company is currently near the high end of its 52-week range. Because they have a pretty good yield percentage and yield payouts through their dividends, this would be a better long-term investment. It's also traded on the New York Stock Exchange, which means it's a big stable stock. The beta is relatively low. We want that beta to be higher if we're investing for short-term stocks. So therefore, I'm not going to invest in this company due to some of those reasons. So you'll notice that my reasoning here in the far right-hand side only hits on a few of these things, a couple of things that really stand out to me. So over here, you don't have to say everything, about something about every one of these things here. Then it asks you to use the interactive chart, and that comes from your summary tab. We'll go back and take a look at it. So when you're on your summary tab, you'll see an interactive chart link just above the chart. Make sure it's on 1 year. If you open it up, it'll give you the values of that company throughout the last year. And as you hover over different parts of this chart, you'll see over here in this box, it'll tell you what the price or what the stock was selling for on that given day. It will also tell you the volume, which is the number of shares traded on a given day. Volume can be seen down here with these red and green bars. The higher the bar, the more the stocks were traded on a given day. If it's green, that means there are more investors that bought that stock on that day. If it's red, it means the value of the stock fell on that day. And I'll highlight that one here in just a second. The highest value happened on July 15th, where it hit $181.40. I was able to find that out by hovering over the highest part of the chart and then looking at what the stock was selling for on that day. And then I can also see the date way down here as I move my cursor back and forth. Sorry about that. I don't know why it keeps going back there. So if you hover over it, you can see the date down here, and you can see all the information about the sales and what it was selling for and that kind of stuff over here. And then it asks for the lowest value. You do the exact same thing there. Hover over the lowest part of the chart. That happened on January 20th, where it hit $136.96. And then it also asks for the highest volume. And as I said before, you're going to find that down here with these red and green bars. Find the one that is at the highest point. That would be this one right here. It is red because on that day you can see there was a huge drop in the value of the company, which tells you that something happened on that day that was not necessarily a good thing for 3M and impacted its stock or share price negatively. If you really wanted to, you could go back and find the headlines for that day, and I'm sure you could figure out exactly why the stock fell so sharply on that day. So again, volume bars are down here. You just have to find the one that is the highest, hover over it, figure out the date, and you'll find the volume right here. Good stuff. Same thing on the, whoops-a-daisies. Same thing on the right-hand side. Based on that information, how is this going to impact your choice? Well, it's got a fairly decent range. However, I looked at the stock chart at this time last year during the fall and winter seasons, and the stock chart showed me that there wasn't really any significant growth at that time, which leads me to believe that we possibly won't see much growth during this time either. Then down here, you're going to use the stock analyst company right here, the stockconsultant.com, to find the bullish or bearish percentage. There should be a hyperlink on it. If you follow it, you can go ahead and then put your stock symbol in the quote lookup, press the consult button, and you will find out that this is currently 80% bullish, which is a good thing. Remember, the bull means that more investors are more optimistic about this stock at this time. I will warn you that at times, Stock Consultant may lock you off, or they may not have information for your given stock. If that's the case, you can just put NA for not available, and you can also put NA or not available for any one of these things that Yahoo Finance or Stock Consultant does not come up with. So if there's no yield percentage, let's say up here, just put NA. Don't worry if there's no yield. That's not a big concern because most of your stocks probably won't have any yield or dividend payouts anyway. And that's not a bad thing. The next part, it says to click on the opinion tab to find the recommendation rating. It'll show you here. Actually, I think I changed that up. Instead of the opinion tab, it says to go to the, oh yeah, it does still. All right, well, we'll just stick with it. This changed from last year. Yahoo has changed some things on their website. So to find the recommendation ratings, you just need to go to their homepage or stay at their summary page. I got to figure out how to get back there first, though. There we go. Here we go. go to quote summary. On the right-hand side, if you scroll down a little bit, you're going to find the recommendation trends. And currently, this is leaning towards more of a strong buy. It's got a 2.5 rating, which means that it's between a buy and a hold. So if you see that on your stock, within there, you're just going to write 2.5 buy or hold right here. And that's all you need to do here. Basically, what this is telling you is how many brokers out there are recommending whether you sell or buy this stock at the given time. So there are more brokers who are bullish on this particular stock. That's what the 2.5 represents. And then the last three things that you need to find here come from the Analyst tab. Oops, I'm trying to switch that up. That's not what I want to do either. Okay, so here you got to click on Analyst tab to find the next quarter's average estimate as well as the next two things listed there. In order to do that, here's the Analyst tab on the far right-hand side of the ribbon. Click on that guy and you're going to find all the information in here that you need. The first thing they ask for is the next quarter average estimate. And in order to find that, you might have to scroll down a little bit. Here we go. Nope, it's right up here at the top. So here's the average estimate. And the next quarter, if you look under that column, it says 1.95. Go back to your chart, fill that in. And then the second question is the next quarter's growth rate estimate. This will come in the form of a percentage. And you'll have to find some of that as well by looking around. Let's see here. Growth rate, there we go. Here's your growth. Next quarter, 17.5%. Make sure you use the number for 3M and not the industry that they're involved in. So you take that 17.5%, go back to your chart, throw that in there. And the last thing it asks for is the next quarter sales growth percentage. And that you have to scroll back up a little bit. There we go. There it is, your sales growth. The sales growth is found underneath the revenue estimate. And for next quarter, we're looking at 1.4%, and that's the number you would use there. Again, you may see in some of your stocks NA, and if that's the case, if NA were listed here, instead of putting 1.4%, I just put NA in here. The last thing you need to do then is to, well, based on the information that you just found, explain how that information could or might affect your choice for a short-term stock in the next 2 to 3 months. I said they got a pretty slow growth rate for the next quarter, and the recommendations are not real strong from brokers. So for some of the same reasons, I'm not going to be investing in this stock for the next 3 months. And so basically, that's how you fill out this stock chart. You can find most of the information from Yahoo Finance. You do need to use Stock Consultant to find this. MSN and Google and a few other sites also have something very similar to what you see here with Yahoo Finance. So if you want to use other websites, financial websites to find the information for these stock charts, feel free to do that. But please go back and utilize all the resources on Canvas, all the recordings on Canvas, so that you know what you are doing here. One big thing to remember about all this is that your decision to invest in companies should not be based on the numbers alone. In fact, your decisions to invest in companies is going to be based on your research. What do consumers want in the next 2 to 3 months that's going to make a company profitable? And don't go after big names, right? Be original, do some research, use outside sources, think about inputs that go into products that people are buying, and go follow the supply chain and figure out what companies are going to benefit from a new iPhone 7. Not just Apple, but there are others that provide the technology. There are others that provide the resources and the raw materials as well. If you find those are great ideas. Another avenue you could attack would be just looking at online financial news, or pick up a newspaper and look at the business section. Those are all ways to go about finding good stocks for the next 2 to 3 months. So I can't tell you what are going to be great stocks in the next 2 to 3 months. That's your job. And eventually you're going to write a paper on this. And when I read that paper, I want to find your reasoning for investing in these stocks your outside research as the reasons for